Welcome back for another deep dive.
Always exciting to be back.
So today we're going to tackle
Okay.
Ernest Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea.
Ah, classic.
It is,
Yeah.
but we're going with a twist.
Okay.
So we're going beyond just the surface of the story, and
Right.
we're going to dive into an academic paper
I'm good.
that really takes apart Hemingway's writing style
Okay.
and how it, shapes the deeper meaning of the book.
I like it.
It's a little dense, I'll be honest.
Uh-huh.
But I think there are some fascinating nuggets in this paper,
Okay.
especially for anyone interested in,
Yeah.
how Hemingway's famous simplicity actually amplifies the story's impact.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I think that's
It's really
a
interesting.
common theme in a lot of his works.
Yeah.
It's very simple,
Yeah.
but impactful.
It is. Like,
Yeah.
you can read it very easily,
Right.
but there's this underlying...
Well, and it's interesting how this paper
yeah.
reveals how Hemingway uses those seemingly simple techniques to create a powerful emotional experience for the reader.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, that very first line,
Uh-huh.
he's an old man who fished alone,
Yeah.
immediately sets a tone of loneliness and struggle.
Yeah, like he's stripping away all the unnecessary
Yeah.
fluff
Right.
and just getting right to the heart of the human experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just the sentence structure.
Right.
The paper also highlights Hemingway's commitment to simple diction.
Right.
He carefully chooses every word, almost like a sculptor chiseling away excess stone to reveal the raw, essential form.
And speaking of word choices, remember how you were curious about how Hemingway's style contributes to the story's deeper meaning?
Yes.
Well, get this.
Okay.
The paper points out that the longest word in the entire book is phosphorescence.
That's so interesting. It's so funny because it seems almost out of place in a book
Right.
that's known for its brevity.
Right. It's like, why that word?
Yeah.
And the paper suggests that Hemingway might have chosen this word very deliberately,
Okay.
that it's not just describing the glowing seaweed,
Right.
it's suggesting something deeper.
Yeah.
It reveals Hemingway's fascination with the hidden depths
Yeah.
of the ocean,
Absolutely.
both literally and metaphorically.
Yeah.
It suggests that hope persists even in darkness.
That's a brilliant insight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that. And
Yeah.
it connects to the theme of
Yeah.
the old man's perseverance in the face of seemingly impossible odds.
Yeah.
The paper also talks about how
Yeah.
Hemingway used his own deep understanding of fishing to create a truly immersive experience for the reader.
Yeah.
Hemingway spent years fishing in the Cuban Gulf Stream.
Uh-huh.
And the paper argues that he leveraged his experiences
Okay.
to make you feel like you're right there on the boat with the old man.
So it's not just reading about fishing, it's you're feeling the sun on your skin, the salt spray in your face, the exhaustion of the struggle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the paper even mentions that
Mm-hmm.
Hemingway actually hooked his first marlin
Oh, wow.
decades before writing The Old Man and the Sea,
Really?
which just shows
Well-
how deeply intertwined his life was with the subject matter.
So this wasn't just research for him.
Right.
This was a passion project,
Yeah.
fueled by years of personal experience.
Yeah, exactly.
That definitely adds a whole new dimension to the story.
Absolutely. And it connects to what the paper calls
Okay.
professional detail,
Okay.
which is Hemingway's meticulous attention to accurately portraying the techniques and realities of fishing.
Okay.
It wasn't just about realism, though.
Uh-huh.
It was about capturing a deeper understanding of the world through mastery of a craft.
It's like Hemingway is saying that by
Right.
truly understanding the intricacies of a skill,
Yeah,
you gain a different perspective on life itself.
exactly. Yeah. The paper also dives into how Hemingway uses symbolism
Okay.
to convey deeper meanings,
Yeah.
even within his deceptively simple prose.
Yeah.
Take those dreams the old man has about lions.
Okay.
They're not just random. They represent the old man wrestling with aging. He yearns for youthful vigor symbolized by the lion, yet accepts the reality of his aging body.
That's a really interesting interpretation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it adds a whole layer of psychological depth to the character.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not just the lions.
Right.
Remember that phosphorescence we talked about?
Uh-huh.
The paper sees it as symbolizing the persistence of hope, even in darkness.
Oh, okay.
It makes you think about how Hemingway is using these seemingly simple images
Yeah.
to explore much larger themes about the human condition.
Right.
And it's amazing how Hemingway can pack so much meaning into these subtle details.
Yeah.
And speaking of details,
Yeah.
the paper also delves into Hemingway's choice to focus on a limited number of characters in The Old Man and the Sea.
Yeah.
Specifically, it points out the absence of female characters.
Yeah. That's something I noticed too.
Oh, yeah.
It's definitely a very male-dominated world that Hemingway creates.
It is.
Yeah.
And the paper suggests that this might be tied to Hemingway's exploration of themes like male heroism and the struggles men face in a harsh environment.
Yeah, it's important to remember the context of when the book was written.
Right, of course.
It's a product of its time.
Absolutely.
But it does make you think about how societal norms and expectations can influence the stories we tell.
For sure.
The paper also touches on the structure of the story,
Okay.
noting how Hemingway uses a relatively straightforward narrative with a clear beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah, it's very simple. The structure is almost like a fable or parable.
Yeah.
But the paper argues that this simplicity allows Hemingway to focus on the internal journey of the old man.
Okay.
Highlighting his psychological and emotional state as he confronts his own mortality and limitations.
So the simplicity of the structure actually amplifies the complexity of the themes?
Exactly. It's like he's stripping away all the distractions so we can really focus on the core of the human experience.
And that core experience, as the paper suggests, is about more than just catching a fish.
Yes.
It's about the pursuit of meaning and purpose.
Absolutely.
Even in the face of adversity.
The old man's struggle with the marlin becomes a metaphor for humanity's eternal struggle against the forces of nature, both internal and external.
Right.
And it's through this struggle that Hemingway explores ideas of courage, perseverance, and the search for dignity.
Yeah, and it's interesting how the paper highlights the old man's deep respect for the marlin.
Yes.
Even as he's fighting it.
Yes.
He seems to recognize a kindred spirit, a fellow creature battling against the odds.
And the paper suggests that this respect for the marlin is part of a larger theme of the old man's connection to the natural world.
Okay.
He's not just trying to conquer nature, he's trying to understand it.
Right.
To coexist with it.
It's almost like he sees the marlin as a worthy opponent.
Right.
A reflection of his own inner strength and determination.
That's a great observation.
Yeah.
The paper also dives into the idea of luck versus skill, noting how the old man believes in being prepared for when luck arrives.
Okay.
Remember that line where he thinks, it is better to be lucky, but I would rather be exact.
Right.
Then when luck comes, you are ready.
It's a powerful line. Yeah, it really encapsulates the old man's philosophy.
It does.
Yeah, he's not just hoping for a lucky break.
Right.
He's actively honing his skills.
Yes.
And preparing himself for any eventuality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the paper argues that this emphasis on preparedness is not just about fishing, it's about life itself.
Right.
Hemingway seems to be suggesting that true success comes from a combination of preparation, perseverance, and a willingness to face challenges head on.
It's a message that resonates deeply, especially in today's world, where we often feel overwhelmed by circumstances beyond our control.
I agree.
But the old man reminds us that we can still control our own actions, our own preparation, and our own attitude towards adversity.
Speaking of attitude, the paper also points out the old man's remarkable lack of bitterness or resentment.
Right.
Even when he's facing incredible hardship.
Yeah. He never seems to give in to despair or self-pity.
Nope.
He maintains a sense of dignity and even humor throughout his ordeal.
And the paper argues that this resilience, this ability to find meaning and purpose, even in the face of defeat, is at the heart of what makes The Old Man and the Sea such a timeless and inspiring story.
Yeah.
And it all comes back to Hemingway's ability to use simple language and vivid imagery to explore profound truths about the human experience.
It's like he's peeling back the layers of human nature and revealing the raw emotions and struggles that connect us all.
Yes.
But he does it in a way that's both accessible and thought-provoking.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And this brings us to one of the paper's most interesting observations.
Okay.
The idea that The Old Man and the Sea is not simply a story about victory or defeat.
Okay.
It's about something much deeper. Something that transcends the limitations of the physical world.
That's intriguing.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that a bit?
Sure.
What does the paper suggest is the deeper meaning behind the story?
The paper argues that Hemingway uses the old man's journey to explore the boundaries of reality itself.
Okay.
It points to moments where the lines blur between the physical world and the old man's internal world.
Right.
Like his conversations with the marlin and those vivid dreams of lions on the beaches of Africa.
So it's like Hemingway suggesting that there's more to life than just the tangible, everyday world we experience.
Yeah.
That there's a deeper, almost spiritual dimension that we can tap into.
Exactly. And the paper argues that this connection to a larger reality is what ultimately gives the old man strength and purpose.
Right.
Even when he's facing seemingly insurmountable challenges.
Yeah.
He finds meaning not just in the act of fishing, but in the act of connecting with something larger than himself.
Okay.
Something that transcends the boundaries of life and death.
It's like he's tapping into the essence of nature,
right.
The primal forces that govern the world around us.
Precisely. And the paper links this idea to the final message of the story.
Okay.
The winner takes nothing.
Right.
It suggests that Hemingway is challenging us to think beyond the traditional notions of victory and defeat. To see that the true reward lies in the journey itself.
Okay.
In the act of striving and engaging with life fully, regardless of the outcome.
It's a powerful message that goes far beyond the simple act of catching a fish. You know, it's about finding meaning and purpose in the face of life's inevitable challenges.
Yeah.
And accepting that sometimes the journey is more important than the destination.
Absolutely. The paper argues that by stripping away the complexities of modern life and focusing on this primal struggle between man and nature, Hemingway taps into something universal.
Okay.
Something that speaks to the core of the human experience.
So after diving into this paper,
yes,
do you think The Old Man and the Sea is ultimately a story about victory?
That's a great question.
Defeat? Or something else entirely?
And one I think each reader needs to answer for themselves.
Right.
But the paper certainly encourages us to look beyond the surface.
Yeah.
And consider the deeper themes that Hemingway is exploring. The power of the human spirit, the search for meaning in a chaotic world, and the profound connection between humanity and the natural world.
It's given me a lot to think about, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I think I'll need to revisit The Old Man and the Sea with fresh eyes.
I highly recommend it.
Armed with these new insights.
And as you reread it, consider this.
Okay.
If The Old Man and the Sea is not simply a story about winning or losing, then what is it ultimately about?
Yeah.
What message do you think Hemingway was trying to convey to us all?
That's a fantastic question to ponder.
It is.
And to all our listeners out there, I encourage you to explore The Old Man and the Sea for yourselves.
I second that.
You might be surprised at the depth and symbolism hidden within its seemingly simple prose. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.